Yo, what up guys, it's Flark, and I'm going to walk you through Unholy as of 10.0.5. You know, what's changed, how good are we, what's coming next in 10.0.7. Try and keep you up to date with the most frequently asked questions and how to push rating as Unholy in this game right now. It's not going to be like the full guide rework. I'll wait till 10.0.7 comes out for that. So if you want my dragonflight guide or my beginner's guide, for more information, they'll both be in the description below. So take a look at that. But I am going to address every single frequently asked question and keep you informed in the most current patch for how to win games as this spec. And there'll be timestamps for everything below. So hopefully it is as user-friendly for you guys as it can possibly be. And you get as much out of it as you can. But there you go. No more intro. That's all. We'll get right into it. First, we got to talk about what actually changed. That's easy. Necrotic wounds got nerfed. A 6% overall nerf to the effectiveness of the healing absorption and heal. Spellwarden got absolutely gutted. Just destroyed. It's barely playable. And then Death Strike got some of the nerfs reverted, which means our Death Strike healing is higher. As well as Virulent Plague took a damage nerf. But then Frost Fever and Blood Plague, which I think we have confirmed, do affect Unholy's Super Strain version of those. Which means the Super Strain build got a big nerf from Virulent Plague, but then a slight buff from the other two, and because it's such a high output build overall, it does still feel like it's very, very playable, and of course I'll talk about that very soon. But that's about it. So some survivability nerfs, and then some survivability buffs, some damage nerfs, and then some damage buffs. It all ends up being a little bit less powerful overall, but I do believe, and a spoiler here, that Unholy is still extremely good. I've actually only had good luck since the patches came out. Every lobby has felt more winnable. Everything feels a little better, and the reason for that for me, and I'll explain this. I'm not trying to just say that, oh, I'm great and it's easy, trust me, it's not. But one of the things that I've noticed is that there's a lot less ferals. Have you guys noticed this? Were ferals very hard for you as well? Feral was very hard for me. They kill me. They kill me from a range, they kill me up close, they're always killing me, there's no way around it, I'm on a timer effectively, but they also kill my pets. One of my strategies as Unholy, if I fight something that's just going to win eventually, I'm like, well, if I open harder, if I go all in, if I get a good gargoyle, if I get PI and I just juice and I just counter pressure them as zuggy as I possibly can, then maybe I put them on the back foot and I can win before the timer runs out. But with Feral, they were not only killing me and running, so they were kiting out my go, they were also killing my pets and my sources of damage, so the counter pressure was very difficult. So while Unholy may be a little bit less powerful overall, in the grand scheme of things, it might be more powerful because some of the things that were very, very problematic were nerfed. Now, I know Arms is insane and Rogue is insane, and those are tough specs as well, but for me personally, Feral was one of the, like when I saw Feral lobby, we do great with them, but against them, that's very difficult. But anyway, I don't know if you guys have had the same luck. Maybe you've gone down, maybe you've gone up, but let me spend the rest of this video talking through all of the things that I do right now to see if we can make it so we're all going up together. Okay, so as promised, let me do that. So we'll talk about gear and stats. Stats are very easy. Nothing has changed for this. I said verse is king, and you get it from every PvP piece, besides some tier pieces, right? But you have all the verse you need from all of your PvP pieces, so you never really have to even think about it. Yes, verse is your best stat, and yes, you'll have it. So that leaves haste mastery and crit, and haste mastery are your next stats, because crit is nerfed in PvP, and it doesn't do anything extra for Unholy like it does for Frost. So you just run haste and mastery on every other piece. Which is insanely easy, right? You just get the ones with haste, or you get the ones with mastery, and you can enchant mastery, and you can gem mastery and haste, right? There are dual gems like that, and you can just get a combination of both, and you'll feel extremely powerful. They're complementary stats, right? Mastery makes your pets do more damage, haste makes them attack faster. Haste can help you build your Festermite stacks, which makes your pets do more damage, which is further amplified by Mastery. If you are running the Festermite build, if you're running Commander, then you're going to get more juice into your Gargoyle with the Haste, having more Death Coils, and your Mastery is going to make your Gargoyle hit harder. So they're very complementary. Just get both. You're going to love them. You do not need to stack one over the other. In fact, I think that's silly. So get both. That's how you do it. You just get a piece with mastery. Look at this. It's a ring with mastery, a ring with haste. Insignia has a ton of haste, so you can grab mastery boots. You got mastery bracers, right? Haste. I could switch this over to mastery. I have my mastery necklace, so that gives me a ton of that as well. That's how you do it. So the other gearing decisions, well, that's very simple what that's going to be. It's going to be the helm and lariat conversation. So let's have that conversation right now. There is absolutely merit to both. I know that most people run something different than I run. So let me just talk about it right now, and you'll see what you think about it at the end. So here are the thoughts. When you run the Helm of Vengeance, the one that makes you do a proc physical damage, you have to get crit instead of mastery. And we just talked about how mastery is a better stat than crit. No ifs, ands, or buts, right? Mastery is a better stat than crit. So because the reason you're doing this is because the tier helmet, if you want to get the tier helmet instead, has mastery on it. And the crafted helm doesn't. It's very much that simple. Furthermore, you have to lose the lariat. So let's talk about the pros and cons. Lariat has a proc, which means when it procs during a good window, you do have 290-ish more of a stat. Of course, it is a proc, which means it has pretty low uptime. And overall, over the course of a whole game, it's not going to be that impactful. But during your windows, if it procs at the right time, and it generally does, you will have 290 more of a stat. Now, that's not that much with current stat numbers, especially when you attack a PvP dummy and get all those buffed up. But it is something. Now, you do lose a little bit of item level on that. So you are losing something from the lariat as well. Then with the tier helm versus the crafted helm, you are losing the physical damage proc, but you're gaining better stats, right? So there's a pro and con in each one. Personally, let me see if I have. So it does tend to do like 2 to 3% of your damage, which seems like a tiny amount, but then you realize like secondary stats can give you like 1% more of a stat, and like 1.5% more of a stat. So 2.5% damage is like 2.5% burst without the defensive capability. So that's actually still pretty decent. It is just raw damage, and Unholy does very well with raw damage. You can see that Frost Fever is still kicking it. This is the hybrid build, obviously. We'll get to that soon. So you lose that, and then you gain mastery, and then you gain a proc, but then you lose item level. It does feel like it could go either way. I am a big fan of the extra stam. I like the extra survivability. I like the verse from the Vengeance, and I like the extra damage if I'm being trained. I've had it hit up to 4% of my damage once when I was getting mauled by Assassination Rogue Arms Warrior. Ready to show of hands if you've ever also gotten mauled by Assassination Rogue Arms Warrior. But those are my thoughts. So, to answer the question, I still use the Infurious Helm of Vengeance with my tier pieces coming on the shoulder, chest, legs, and gloves, and I use the regular necklace, not the lariat. But if you choose to, you could do it the other way. Unfortunately, PvP is not simmable, right? So the situations that change in PvP completely disrupt any ability to simulate the result, right? So we're never going to have a definitive answer, but I got to 3,146 with this setup. So if your goal is 3,146 or less, then you will also be able to do that with this setup. So you won't really have anything to worry about. So that should be good. And that's gearing as a whole. Everybody knows we're still using Fallen Crusader. And I use the Insignia because Unholy Sustain is really good and because it has haste on it. So that's very complementary to Unholy. All right, so that was gearing again. It kind of felt like a guide, but, I just talked too much. Sorry. Okay, for talents, I'm not going over all the talent builds again. Remember, description below for all of the talents explained in detail in my guide. But I'm just going to look at the titles of them real quick, and I'll even switch them for you. The pet build is slightly better now with higher health pools, giving you more reaping value. This is the pet build that I run again. It'll be in the other video. The guide video will be in the description below. But this build also got a little better because of all the priests running around. They both will run through their cooldowns if you do this to them. This is the burstiest build. The pet build is the burstiest build. And also they can both give you PI, and this build just juices with PI because you're bombing so much buffs into this gargoyle with the Commander of the Dead buff on it. And you get Festermite. So here's what happens, right? Commander Hybrid doesn't get Festermite, right? Festermite with PI builds an enormous amount of strength. Commander and Gargoyle with PI builds a massive Gargoyle. When you combine the two things, you are getting some of the most cosmic burst damage in the game. I did have a 500k Gargoyle in PvP. I know you can get way higher than that in PvE, but in PvP, there's a lot of disruption, CC, lining, outranging, roots, AoE CC, right? That can stop you from having this. I had a 500k Gargoyle in PvP. The last hit was so huge, I think it just finished the guy. And with the Reaping talent, when the Gargoyle is peppering them and keeping them low, you're going to get all the Reaping value for those big clawings and big death coils that finish people off. So this is the all-in. I want to win some games. I got a double disc lobby. I just want to one-shot something. This build is hilarious for that right now, and it's getting better in 10.0.7 because they're buffing Rotten Touch. So get ready for that. But this is the Pets build as of this patch. Can now, if you see a double priest lobby and you can convince them to give you PI in the opener, this is your one-stop shop for the most nuclear damage that most lower MMR healers will have no way of dealing with. It's so much pressure, so much ramped up damage, so much burst at the end, so hard to deal with if you build up the perfect set of Festermite stacks and the biggest Gargoyle with your haste. So you could try that. The build that I am currently still running for just overall effectiveness at the highest MMR. Remember, I actually played the Pets build at lower MMR to push back up because it is so... It takes over the game. So if people are not ready for it, you can end the game, which gives you a win each round, which is fantastic. But here's the hybrid build. This is the one that I still run, the Festermite version. It is, again, it was nerfed from the Virulent Plague nerf and then buffed from the Frost Fever and Blood Plague buff. Not as much as it was nerfed for sure, but it did get a little bit of compensation there. It still has immense sustained pressure. When dampening stacks in, the damage is getting harder and harder to deal with, and your damage kind of never runs out, so that's really good. As they're running out of cooldowns and getting higher dampening, you're still putting out that pressure, which means you can immediately take advantage of the situation being harder on the healer. The Reaping build, I'm just going to talk, this is a 10.0.7 possibility. So that is the one where I kind of just put all the juice into the biggest clawing death coils and Soul Reaper that I could possibly get. This one I'm not going to talk too much about. Again, it's in my other video. This is not now. This is a 10.0.7 possibility. The other hybrid build I've never run, but I've seen it run, and I know that it has to be good because people have had success with it. I don't personally like it because I like the synergy of building up Festermite stacks for your super strain dots to do more damage and all of your abilities to do more damage because that's what strength does. While Commander has an enormous amount of pressure, it doesn't synergize with the diseases in any way. But the build is absolutely still viable because I've seen it run at the highest possible level. But I don't personally run this one. So let's do an overview. Skipping diseases because it's just a rot build for RBGs. And it still is. So if you like RBGs, I'll bring it up on the screen real quick. And there you go. You can see the talents that were flashing. Again, that's all in my other video. Pets build. Nuclear, one-shot burst, solo shuffle, maybe lower MMR, maybe higher MMR, as long as you get double disc. Convince them to give you PI, one-shot somebody in the opener, win the round, go next. Sneak in a 5-1 somehow. Everybody's in disbelief. They don't know what happened. They're stunned, blah, blah, blah. Okay, and then you go on to the next one with your big .0 gain. Okay, hybrid build. This is the one that I run. I think it's the most overall effective in my personal point of view in the way that I play, and it is what I played. I am now 3,200 MMR and climbing, so this is the build that I play. Reaping is 10.0.7. Can't wait to make the guide video for that, and I really hope that this is finally viable because I think it is going to be. Just wait for those changes. They have not come out yet. You're going to have to be patient. Hybrid 2 is the other hybrid build that I don't run, but we can clearly see has value. Boom. And that's all current as of exactly right now. Okay. Now, let's take a brief moment away from the solo shuffle mania and go over to threes. I do have a video on my channel that is the comp that I played, Hunter Death Knight, and how to play it. But let's take a brief moment for comps. So comps that you could run. Unfortunately, if you've noticed, threes ladder is heavily deflated. The fact that I hardly play this bracket, I'm 2,400 and that's 312 on the ladder is insane. I think in the corrupted season, 312 on the ladder was like 3,100. Maybe higher. So yeah, of course, this season has had a lot of interest in solo shuffle, not in threes. So there's not as much experimentation going around because there's not as much participation going around. So I'm going to tell you the 2 comps that I know with certainty can have success. And then I'm going to tell you other comps that absolutely have merit and you should try them. Okay, so the 2 comps absolutely that do work. Demon Hunter Death Knight still. Hunter DK. Because I know it because we played it and we did very well. And our MMR is high and we could probably push it. I just never play. Because solo shuffle is a drug. It's the most addicting thing in the world. Okay, so Hunter DK, you can, or Demon Hunter DK, let's start with that one. Demon Hunter Death Knight, you can play with the Disc Priest. He will juice you, he can even Dark Arc you, he can Purge, he can MD. You have win conditions all across the board. He adds pressure to every kill window. There's defensives to rotate, paints up, dome, swap, darkness, zone. You are tanky for that result. You can, for that matter, you can do an enormous amount of damage from all 3 of you. You're all triple juiced all the time. You've got Necrotic Aura for the priest damage. You've got the DH magic damage for the priest damage. You can see how complementary this is. You have so many ways that all 3 of you contribute to the offensive pressure. You guys are both buffing your disc. You're both buffing each other. He's buffing you. You have the Purge and MD for offensive pressure. You have Paints Up to stay aggressive. It's just absolutely ridiculous. It's a mind melding amount of damage. There's very little you can do about it. Hunter DK is very similar, just PvE and CC healer. While DHDK sets up triple goes, Hunter DK, just the regular Hunter, right? Beast Mastery Hunter, not the one that hunts demons, sets up CC with Stun Trap, and you just PvE the DPS kind of away from the healer and let the healer get CC'd with Stun Trap Fear. You would play that with a disc as well. I have a video on that, so. Those are the 2 definitive comps that I've seen DK play. I think there would be a lot more comps if participation was higher. So we can talk about how I think Demo DK would be good with the long CC chain. You got Stun, Coil, Fear, Silence, and then Tyrant with your Gargoyle Go. Wow, that's a lot of damage and very difficult to peel. Shadow Priest DK has always been decent. He can give you PI. Stun, Silence, Fear, of course, again. He's going to take up a lot of the damage, though, and that's going to be hard. Demo is easier to peel for because he's got mobility, right? So he can port and gate, and you can chains and double grip. Shadow Priest can't kite nearly as well, but he is able to put out a ton of pressure, especially with that Void Volley or the Mind Games or the Psy Fiend and the Stun Silence. So you have win conditions for sure. Even DK Ellie or DK Rogue. I'm not going to talk too much about these because I don't think I've seen too many people play DK Ellie, but DK Rogue would obviously be good. It could probably even be a healer killer. You have Kidney Goes, you have half stun into silence out of that. You could have literally Growed Silence into half silence. You have so much healer pressure and so many hard CCs and so many pseudo interrupts with grips and blinds, stuns and silences. That would be absolutely dominant. You could also just go DPS and put the entire CC chain onto the healer. You got Kidney on the DPS, and then you've got Blind, Sap, Blind, Asphyxiate, Silence, Fear. Holy cow. I mean, you would never run out of CC, and they would not really be able to live. You could probably CC them into the next Kidney, and then you're going to Kidney them again. Oh my god, I mean, that would be vile. In fact, I've played a lot of Assassination Rogue and Holy DK as a result of solo shuffle, and every time it's gone extremely well. So, Rogue DK, Ellie DK, Shadow Priest DK, Demo DK. All tryable things. I bet even Assassination Rogue DK is probably a proven thing. I mean, that has to be good, period. And then Hunter DK and Demon Hunter DK, absolutely proven to have success with them. The most important thing, I think, is for people to start trying to reach out for that Glad mount because it looks so cool. I haven't even gotten it yet. I have the rating for it, but I'm like 1 out of 50 wins because I play solo shuffle all day. But yeah, it looks really cool. Before the end of the season, I'm going to have to go for it, and I'm sure MMR will inflate. Maybe they will even add in some manual MMR inflation, because I know a lot of people have been asking for that, and they have been constantly and frequently making changes based on what people want. So please, let's give Blizzard some credit. I've never seen this much tuning in a season ever. And there's more coming. It's 10.0.7, changes to solo shuffle, changes to classes, overhauls for Ret and for Frost DK and Unholy, getting so much changes. It's incredible. So let's stay positive. Let's see if they continue adding all of this value to the game by constantly updating it, improving it, and as well as mechanical stuff like solo shuffle changes and possibly MMR inflation and more rewards to organically inflate MMR like that, more things to push for, more reasons to play. I do believe they will put that in the game. So stay focused, stay diligent. I do believe Glad will be attainable for much more people than it is right now. And Solo Shuffle Legend, absolutely, you can get that. 2400 is accessible right now in Solo Shuffle. So, okay, that was stats. That was gear. That was talents. That was comps, all up to date as of exactly right now, what I would run, how I would run it, how you would get wins. I have a lot of videos coming up and VOD reviews and such, so stay tuned for that. And we will be looking onward to 10.0.7, where we're getting some changes to Rotten Touch. And they said specifically that Unholy is getting even more reworks based on underperforming talents. They said it in the update, in the Wowhead. So when those all come out, I'll make yet another news video, and we'll just get excited for 10.0.7 as well. So, okay. I hope that helps in some way. Stay up to date with Unholy and continue to push rating in this game. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you around.